The new eligibility format is here, and this is good for Syracuse and good for everyone across the NCAA.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, everyone. Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. On today's show, Syracuse basketball is, in fact, going to play UConn this upcoming season, but there's a slight caveat here. It's going to be an exhibition game. Having said that, is it a precursor to a potential regular season matchup in 2027-28? We'll discuss later on in the show, but I am certainly fired up for Syracuse to finally play UConn again in a basketball game. But we begin the show by discussing the national news over the past 24 hours. The NCAA finally did something good, and that should be the headline. The NCAA has done something good, because we all know how bad the NCAA is and how not powerful they are, but they have finally done something where I think most, if not all people, can actually agree with. And I'm not just talking about us fans. I'm talking about athletes. I'm talking about coaches. I'm talking about anyone involved in these, I guess we can call them front offices now of these college sports programs. The new eligibility model is here. 5 for 5 is here, and we've discussed it plenty over the past couple of years here on Locked On Syracuse, anticipating that this was going to eventually happen. And based on all the reporting out there, it seems like it's happening now. It's going to kick in very, very soon. I do want to quickly apologize before we get into this episode and what the 5 for 5 rule actually means for Syracuse and beyond, because I know we were supposed to talk about the Syracuse coaching staff in 2026, talking about Syracuse football here, and all the new coaches that they have. But because of this story and also the fact that Syracuse basketball is going to play UConn, we're going to push that episode to Friday, of course, barring more breaking news, of course. But anyway, let's get to the national story here. The age-based eligibility model. It has been approved by the NCAA, and NCAA president Charlie Baker seems fairly confident that this is going to kick in very, very soon. I think sometime in July, which July is pretty close from right now. We are already in late June. Under the new rules, athletes across all sports are going to get 5 years to complete 5 seasons. That's where the 5 for 5 comes into effect. This rule eliminates waivers. It eliminates redshirts. It eliminates any of the confusion with eligibility. Athletes will have 5 years to complete 5 seasons. So no more 6th years, no more 7th years, no more 8th years. 5, 4, 5. This rule is expected to kick in this summer, and it will apply to the new 2027 recruits. They will be the first recruiting class to only have the age-based model system. When does the clock start for these athletes? When does the 5 for 5 start? Can someone enter college at 21 years old and get 5 years? That's not exactly how it works. The clock starts when the athlete is either fully enrolled into college or following their 19th birthday, whichever actually comes first, based on the interpretation that I read of the rule. There are some exceptions to the 5 for 5 rule, and I think that these exceptions are pretty reasonable. I'm not going to argue with any of these exceptions here. Religious reasons, I think they worded it as religious missions, military service, and maternity leave. Those are avenues to where the clock, it doesn't restart for an athlete, but it would pause for the athlete. And I think we can all understand that those are valid reasons. Notice how injury is not listed. It's not listed, folks. Injuries suck. It is an unfortunate reality of sports. I think we all understand that, and nobody in their right mind is rooting for any athlete. I don't care if it's from a bitter rival, in fact. Nobody is rooting for injuries. We don't want to see them. We don't want to hear about them. We wish everyone to be healthy. We just want our team to win, but no one to get hurt. Having said that, I agree with this. I don't think that injuries, as bad as they may be and as sucky as it is for the person who suffers it and for the team and everything that goes along with it, as much as it sucks, I don't believe that you should be given a year of eligibility just because you suffered a major injury. And I know that this has recently benefited Syracuse, specifically Syracuse football and quarterback Steve Angeli, because he suffered an injury early on last season against Clemson. He tore his Achilles. We all understand how awful it was. It was terrible. And because he suffered it so early in the season, he's already been given an extra year of eligibility. He entered last year with 2 years of eligibility. He enters this season with 2 years of eligibility. We'll get to what it means for Steve Angeli in just a moment, but under the new format, if you are somebody that is in the 2027 recruiting class and you suffer a torn Achilles, as bad as it is, you don't get another year. And I agree with it. Now, what happens to athletes that are already graduated? Well, if an athlete is already out of eligibility, hate to break it to you, they are out of eligibility. So, I don't know, for example, J.J. Starling cannot come back to Syracuse basketball. I don't want J.J. Starling to come back, and he cannot come back regardless. If you are out of eligibility, this does not apply to you. The new model only will be available to current and future athletes of college sports. Now, I think the NCAA made a mistake here because we're already seeing reports online about lawsuits being filed about this. So they probably should have already done it earlier. But nevertheless, as it stands right now, if you are someone that recently graduated, you do not get an extra year of eligibility just because this system has or will kick in very, very soon. As far as current athletes are concerned, athletes that have eligibility beyond the 2025-26 academic year, they're going to have a choice. The choice is, do they want to switch to the new format or stick with the old format, whichever they feel benefits them? So how this relates to Syracuse, well, in the case of Steve Angeli, I don't think he loses another year of eligibility. I think that he would retain that second year that he has because of the injury he suffered last year. My thoughts on this, I think I've outlined it pretty well. I think this is a really good move by the NCAA. I think that this is much needed. I think we needed to eliminate the 6th, 7th, 8th year guys out of college sports. I think the only mistake, as I said, is they should have implemented it sooner. And it should have applied to athletes that have already graduated just to avoid the headache that is likely to come for the NCAA. For all intents and purposes, I think the 5-for-5 is a very strong model. I'm glad that the redshirts are gone. I'm glad that waivers are gone. I'm glad that people that are 26 years old are no longer going to be available or eligible to play college sports. And I think it's very fair. It's not like it's completely eliminating redshirting. It just means that you have 5 years to complete 5 seasons. And I think that makes a ton of sense for college sports. As far as the effect on Syracuse, I don't really think it changes all that much because this would apply to every single program around the nation. Sure, I do believe that there are current 4th-year seniors that would all of a sudden get another year of eligibility under the 5-for-5 system. And if you're a younger guy who has not redshirted, you probably also get another year of eligibility based on the interpretation of the rule. For example, a guy like Demetres Samuel, who did not redshirt last year for Syracuse, I believe now instead of having 3 years of eligibility, if he switches to the new format, which would benefit him to do, he would have 4 more years of eligibility. But if all goes according to plan for Demetres Samuel, he won't be in college for 3 or 4 more years because he'll be off to the NFL. Best wishes to him on that. But overall, I like it. 5 for 5 is here. I think this is good for Syracuse. I think this is good overall for college sports. What do you think? Do you like the rules? Do you think they need to be tweaked a little bit? Comment your thoughts right now in the comment section below. Coming up here on Locked On Syracuse, we will talk about how Syracuse basketball is set to play UConn in an exhibition game this upcoming season. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Syracuse. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal, and that's true in sports, just like it is in every business. Let's relate it to Syracuse football for just a moment here. One decision that really stands out about how Syracuse got everyone pulling in the same direction was when Syracuse football landed the centerpiece of their team in 2024, the 10-win Syracuse football team, getting Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord, he transfers from Ohio State, looking for a fresh start, a new opportunity. Fran Brown had a prior relationship with Kyle McCord. It was well thought out. It was planned. It was the right offensive coordinator for Kyle McCord. It was the right system overall. It was the right weapons around him. And it was just overall the right opportunity. It was a coordinated effort across the entire Syracuse football team. And that is what ultimately made the Kyle McCord transfer successful. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Hey everyone, Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. If you are someone that tunes into every single episode of Locked On Syracuse, perhaps the Everydayer Club is just for you. You get Locked On Syracuse episodes entirely ad-free, and you also get early access to Locked On Syracuse episodes. You can join the Everydayer Club with the link in the description below. Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. We move away from the national story of the 5 for 5 rule across the NCAA coming into effect, how the NCAA has approved it, and it's expected to be finalized very, very soon and kick in July. Now, let's talk about Syracuse here. Syracuse basketball. CBS Sports' John Rothstein had a very interesting report recently. Syracuse is going to play UConn this upcoming season. Not for a regular season game. It's for an exhibition game on Sunday, October 13th. For context, Syracuse basketball, doesn't matter the circumstance, has not played UConn since November of 2018. I have a few thoughts on this. My initial gut reaction, and I wonder if y'all had the same reaction as I did as well to this. I'm going to say it in just a moment, okay? My initial reaction when I saw the report that Syracuse is going to play UConn in an exhibition game for this season was that this is a precursor for 2027-28. That Syracuse and UConn are going to match up for a regular season game in 2 years. It's bound to happen. It just makes so much sense. Think about it this way. Why else is Syracuse playing UConn, and why is UConn playing Syracuse in an exhibition game? Do you think it's just entirely random? Okay, maybe it is entirely random. I could be totally wrong. I don't think I am. I just think that the stars are aligning that these two programs are going to play each other for real in a real regular season game in 2027-28. Yes, there's money involved for both sides. This is going to benefit Syracuse financially and probably UConn financially as well. I think we can all understand that. But this just feels like a setup for 2027-28. We know how much Gerry McNamara wants to leave his blueprint in the Northeast for Syracuse basketball. He also wants to kind of rekindle those old Big East ties, like the fact that this upcoming season, Syracuse is playing St. John's at MSG. It just feels right. And it feels like this is just a good beginning for both sides to rekindle the rivalry, if you will. I mean, right now, if we're being honest, there's not much of a rivalry between Syracuse and UConn. They haven't played in a while. And also, UConn is a national championship contending team. Syracuse is trying to get back to that level, but they're not there right now. But this is the start. It's rekindling. And my initial reaction when I saw the report from John Rothstein that, hey, they're going to play in an exhibition game is, okay, cool. Maybe just for this year, but the following year, it just makes sense that both these squads are going to play in a real regular season game. Did you have the same initial gut reaction as I did? Leave your thoughts right now in the comments section below. Number two, having said all that, I am glad that it's an exhibition game for this season. UConn is a national championship contending team. It would be very difficult for Syracuse to beat UConn in a regular season contest in a game that actually mattered, not to downplay the exhibition nature of it, but we don't know exactly how the minutes are going to be distributed in that one. I am glad that for this season, it is exhibition. Let's talk about Syracuse's non-conference Power 5 opponents they already have on the schedule. They're already playing St. John's at MSG. That is going to be an extremely difficult game for Syracuse basketball to win. Notice how I didn't say it's an automatic loss. I said it's extremely difficult, given that they're going to MSG. St. John's has a ton of talent. They have a Hall of Fame head coach, Rick Pitino. It's not going to be easy for Syracuse to win that one. Syracuse is playing Providence. They're playing Indiana. Those are two teams that are projected to make the NCAA tournament this upcoming season. ACC SEC Challenge, it's Oklahoma on the road. And while Syracuse, I think they lucked out a little bit with Oklahoma on the road, it certainly could have been a tougher matchup. It could have been, I don't know, at Vanderbilt or at Florida or at Tennessee for the third year in a row playing Tennessee. I don't know, but you get the idea. They kind of lucked out playing Oklahoma on the road. And yet still, that is not going to be an easy game because that will be a true road game for Syracuse. Oklahoma is in the SEC. That is a very difficult conference, obviously. And oh, by the way, it wouldn't shock anyone if Oklahoma ultimately made the NCAA tournament because the format this year and for future years is 76 teams. And then there's Rutgers. And that's the game that Syracuse absolutely has to win. They have no choice. They have to win that game. It's hard to imagine Rutgers actually being good this upcoming season. Could I be proven wrong? Sure. And if I'm wrong about it, good for Rutgers and Rutgers fans out there. It's not like we like Rutgers. You get the idea. But for now, Syracuse has to win that game. Point is that if you then added UConn to the mix, now it just feels like overkill. That's what it would feel like. It would feel like overkill. It would be like, hey, Syracuse, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you making the non-conference schedule more difficult than it really has to be? And I'm not sitting here saying that we should, not play anyone good. My point is that they already are playing people good or teams that are good. They already are playing St. John's. They're playing Providence. They're playing Indiana. They don't need UConn. Not now. Now for next year, when you have a clean slate, and you need to fill out your schedule, could UConn be that signature team like the St. John's was for this season? Yeah, I'm all for it. But for this season, I think it just makes sense that Syracuse is going to play UConn, but in an exhibition game. And I have more thoughts on this, so we'll continue next here on Locked On Syracuse. Locked On Syracuse, I'm Jackson Holzer. My other initial reaction to Syracuse playing UConn reportedly in an exhibition game this upcoming season, it is a good low-pressure test for Syracuse basketball. Ultimately, this is an exhibition game, so it doesn't count. Syracuse could win the game by 30. They could lose the game by 30. And yet, when the regular season starts, they would still be 0-0. This game really does not matter. It is an exhibition game. So that's good. But I do think it is a great way for Syracuse to get tested in a low-pressure environment. Because Dan Hurley, say what you want about him, he is one of, if not the best head coach in all of college basketball. And UConn under Dan Hurley has been arguably, actually, I'll amend that, they have been the best program in college basketball since he has taken over. They've won 2 national championships. They've been to another national championship as well this past season. I don't like saying good things about UConn. I really don't. It makes me want to throw up, but that is the reality. That UConn is a really excellent basketball program, and Syracuse has the opportunity to play them this upcoming season, to really measure themselves up. I'm not saying that Syracuse is going to win the game or that they are even going to keep it close. I don't know. We don't even know how the rotations are going to work for that game. Is UConn going to even play most of its starters? Is Syracuse going to play most of its starters? So much is up in the air for how this is actually going to work. My guess is that everyone will get the opportunity to play because ultimately it is an exhibition game, and this is a good opportunity for everyone to see the floor before the regular season actually starts in a real live action contest against someone other than someone that wears your team's jersey, so to speak. But this is UConn we're talking about. We're talking about a team that has been contending for national championships and winning national championships recently, and a team that this upcoming season should once again be considered one of the favorites to win the national championship. And Syracuse has the opportunity to play them to see how they measure up with one of the best teams in the country without having to worry about any of the repercussions. That's why I say it is a good test, but it's in a low-pressure environment. You can lose the game by 30, and it won't matter to your net ranking or your KenPom ranking. It won't matter. It is an exhibition contest. You can win the game by 30, and it won't matter. It'll certainly have us feeling pretty confident if Syracuse were to beat UConn in an exhibition game, but ultimately, it is a really good test for Syracuse in a low-pressure environment to see where they are at that point heading into the season. What are your thoughts on Syracuse playing UConn in an exhibition game? Feel free to leave your thoughts right now in the comment section below. As far as what's coming up on Locked On Syracuse in the near future, as I mentioned at the very top of the show, initially here on Wednesday, June 24th, we were going to talk about the Syracuse football coaching staff for 2026 and all the new coaches that are on the staff. It's the same head coach, same offensive coordinator, but almost everyone else is entirely different. That's what we were going to talk about today. But because of the age-based model, because of Syracuse playing UConn in an exhibition, I have made the executive decision to push that episode to Friday. Now, hopefully, between now and Friday, we don't get any big breaking news like we had for today's episode, so we can actually talk about it. But of course, if we do, we'll talk about it on the show on Friday as well. But for now, let's plan on that, the Syracuse coaching staff preview for this upcoming season on Friday's show. For now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And hey, folks, since you've already made it this far in the podcast, maybe you are someone that watches and or listens to every single episode of Locked On Syracuse. And if that sounds like you, I think the Everydayer Club is built just for you. You get this show entirely ad-free. That's nice. And you get Locked On Syracuse episodes early before anyone else. If that's something that interests you, how do you sign up for the Everydayer Club? Well, you can join the Everydayer Club with the link in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this episode, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy this podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I will see you all again soon.